Hello and welcome back. I'm finishing the review on the Passat. Just a few little top tips if, this kind of information. If you ever have a VAG car, even dating back to old ones, if you don't have a service book, you need to know things like interior codes, paint codes, engine numbers. Little top tip with these, if you go into the boot, normally 9 times out of 10, it's always in the boot. If you lift the carpet up, well, normally you'll have to bear with this, a white sticker down there, you see? It's on all VAG cars. And it's got things on here like, obviously, the engine code, BKP, that'll be the paint code. Further along, that'll be some kind of interior code. And all these little codes down here are relevant to different coding items on the car. And this comes in very, very handy. So if you ever do clean out the back of one of these, don't be tempted to get this wet, peel it off or deface it. Best thing to do is, if you plan keeping the cars, take a photograph of it, and that's all the cars like kind of information from the factory when they were new. It's also down here as well, which VAG cars do quite often. On your VIN plate you have things like the smoke reading, which on these is 1.0. That can be a bit of an issue with some of these VAG cars. I tend to find that these figures are very low, and sometimes if they're not running quite right, they can be very difficult to get through an MOT. I mean, generally for a DPF, you're looking at 0.5 or less. Most cars with a cap on like this one, it can be an issue that with these. But again, it shows you all of the engine code. So if you ever need reference to buying anything, it's always just straightforward on the plate. You see. I'll show another bonnet, a few little things and stuff like that. So just to basically show you the main differences, really. I've done a bit of work on the car last week. I've stripped and cleaned all of the turbo actuator, like these pressure control valves, like known as an N75 with VAG cars. It was there was a little filter at the bottom was blocked up. Also at the same time, when I first got the car, I did a service. Again, I didn't record any of this, so I had an air filter, oil and filter. These PD engines, in case you don't know what they are, basically it means pump juice, is a German way of saying it. What it is each injector is run off a camshaft, which, unlike any other diesel which I'm aware of, there is no such thing as a high pressure pump. Each injector is its own pumping unit. So the camshafts on these are under incredibly high load. So it's very important to use the correct oil on these engines, or you'll cause serious like camshaft wear problems, things like that. This car actually did just have a new injector in, not due to wear, just due to an electrical fault, and it was 600, and I've got a receipt. It was like £700 with like VAT and stuff in. But there's one good thing with these engines: glow plugs. You never have an issue getting them out because they all sit in the oil. They sit actually in the cam box, so they're never an issue to get a glow plug out. Bit more of a chew, you've got to take the rocker cover off and everything, but I'll get to that later. So it had the fuel filter done. The timing belt was done a couple of years ago. Very important on any engine, obviously. Get the cam belt replaced at the right intervals. But a lot of people overlook with things. They just go, it's 50,000 mile or something like that, or 6 years. And I have a lot of people coming in, and they're going, I've only done 10,000 mile, and then you look and the belt was done 10 years ago. You've got to remember, rubber, like anything, rubber perishes and degrades with time. So if you ever go to buy a car, always don't just go looking at the mileage, or don't just ask, has the timing belt been done, a cam belt. Look at the date when it was done, even if the car's low mileage. I mean, just something basic, like if you park a trailer up and you don't use it if you put a brand new tyre on a trailer, park it up and leave it to stand for 10 years, you're going to come back and those tyres are going to be cracked to bits and perish. And the timing belt is exactly the same thing. So always look on dates as well as mileages to the manufacturer standards, and never let them run right up. I get people coming in, if the timing belt say recommended at 100,000 mile, they're bringing them in on 100,000 or 99,000. I personally don't. I would be getting it changed at 80,000, not maybe 90. Never push them to the limits, and always do the water pump and full kit. And a lot of these VAG cars have like a little piston, it's called a damper, and they can leak fluid out, and what it does is it actually contaminates the belt. So always get the full lot done. If you're going to pay the money, get the timing belt done, get the whole thing done. Same with clutches and dual mass flywheels. Always change the dual mass flywheel, unless it's professionally tested, and that's, you know, it's got the right tolerances of plate in it. It's just not worth ripping whole, you know, like gearboxes and dropping subframes to then have to be taking it all back out again. Also, luckily, the previous car had, the guy, for some reason, he didn't want the brand new battery. So it's got a brand new battery in, that's been dealt with. But these are a good engine, the BKP. The only downside is they've got what you call swirl flaps in the inlet manifold. They're not as bad as the Vauxhall Fiat engines where they get sucked into the engine and stuff, but they can cause problems. It is something I was considering doing, removing the inlet manifold. You can do modifications where you remove them and deactivate them and stuff, but that's maybe going to be another day, or I might not even have the car long enough to get round to that. Yeah, so that's kind of like the main lines of this. If I do get a chance, if I have it on the lift, I'll show you underneath. It's not really too much interest to see under there in most of these modern cars, because they're just all like this, plastic covers and plastic trays. But I've done a few little repairs on this car. Like I've said, they're a good car, these, but I'm not a huge VAG fan. Due to like these reasons here, like the bodywork on them, they do tend to rust. I call French cars for being, you know, bad for like wiring and electrical problems, but they simply don't rust nowhere near. To say these have got such like high kind of following and stuff, it's terrible. I've been on and done a few repairs on this one. Again, like I've said, I don't do body work, but I scraped this back and used something called Cure Rust, and then did a few coats over just with a touch-up pen, to be quite honest, unless you get really close up. You know, my priority was to protect it more than make it look good, and it's the same up here. They go quite nasty in a few areas. Again, just scrape them off and put some Cure Rust on. Don't go too heavy-handed with them, and just keep coating it with wax now and again, and like obviously new coats of the right colour paint. It's not perfect, but it's doing the job to keep the salt off it, you know. Again, they normally go on the wings, and you can see it's just starting to get a bit bubbly, but unfortunately that's just the way it is with these. I did have a Bora a few months ago, a 51 plate one, 150,000 miles, and it was immaculate. It had no rust, yet you can get an 06 plate one with half the miles in, that absolutely rotten. So it's hit and miss, really. This has been protected a few times. It's had some underseal spray on over the years here and there, so it has helped it stop the rust. So yeah, so I'll move on to next time I have to do another job on it. Probably have the tyres fitted on Monday. And there's a wheel bearing to do on it. They just come off as a hub. May record that, but as I've said, I'm struggling at the moment with not having the tripod and things like that. So I'll come back to you.